Eddie Howe has responded to the continuous links to the England manager's job by saying that he will remain committed to Newcastle United, providing he is given reassurances by the club. Yes, guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video on this boiling day in Newcastle. Hope you guys have all been enjoying your Friday out in the sun or cooked up in a boiling hot office like I have been most of today. But we're out now and we're going to be talking about Newcastle United. Eddie Howe has come out and given his first press conference of the, I was going to say, pre-season, upcoming season. You know, we're going to talk about England and the England job in a moment, but really, as I say, England tops are off, Newcastle tops are on, and Eddie Howe had a fair few questions to answer in this one, ranging from the England job through to bringing in Paul Mitchell, transfers, what he hopes to achieve with Newcastle United, and the big one really for me is a bit of a call for help from the Newcastle owners. So we're going to get into all of that in this video. If you haven't already, be sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Going to be loads of videos coming out this summer, I've no doubt, as we approach what is going to hopefully be a very exciting season. So we'll get into it straight away. Eddie Howe said that he will, well, what did he say? He said he has unwavering commitment to Newcastle. And effectively, you know, that Newcastle is his number one priority. He spoke about the fact that he's out in Germany and that all of the England stuff and Gareth Southgate and the job has had no effect on him. Bearing in mind that a lot of media outlets have come out recently to say that there was total unrest and that things weren't right. Eddie Howe was very cool, calm and collected in the interview, and for me was very honest. In as such that he said, you know, he is continuing to be committed to Newcastle. He bigged up the fans. He said that the love and support he has felt by the fans has been fantastic, but that there has been a lot of change recently. He spoke about the fact that he wants to remain committed to Newcastle. It will be his number one priority as long as he is allowed to continue to work in the way that he wants to work. And I think he used the word assurances plenty of times in that interview, and I think I will use that word a lot of times in this video. It's clear that through, you know, the leaving of Amanda Staveley, the bringing in of Paul Mitchell that we'll speak about very shortly, that there has been a lot of change at Newcastle, and he said he kind of needs to adjust, and I think probably know what the lay of the land is going to be. Now for me, that means that Newcastle need to get on the phone to Eddie very quickly and promise him what he needs promised. I think it was great. Like, as I say, throughout the entire interview, he spoke really. I'm cautious to go over the top on this because I could say, you know, Eddie Howe will reject the England offer, but I don't think that's nailed on. I think Eddie Howe. I think it's very likely Eddie Howe will stay at Newcastle, and that's how he portrayed the interview. But he just left that little gap in there. 99%, yes, I'm committed to Newcastle. 1%, as long as my assurances are met. And as I've mentioned already with the likes of Amanda Staveley leaving, he wants to see the lay of the land. He wants to know how things are going to progress, how they are going to work together, and that he can continue to do the job in the way he wants to do it. And I think a big part of that is backing him this transfer window. It's clear that Eddie Howe is a man, and he said in the interview that he wants to bring a trophy to Newcastle, you know, that he has his aims of what he wants to do, and we're talking, and I said this in a video this morning that I actually put out onto my Patreon and onto my YouTube members. So thank you to all of the support I get from those guys who continue to support my extra content. If you want to go check it out, links are down in the description. I spoke about the fact that I'm desperate for Eddie Howe to stay, but it definitely for me would seem that after all of the time Eddie Howe has spent at the club, like right now is I guess the most fragile it's kind of been. And I think partly that is because we didn't achieve Europe last season, partly because Amanda Staveley's left, partly because there's been a lot of change, and it would appear that the PIF are ready to move into what people are calling phase 2, where they are now hopefully going to come in and put a lot of money down and try and take us to where we want to go. Now what Eddie Howe has to do is grab hold of that rocket, which we are hoping is going to be, Newcastle over the next however many years. Grab a hold of that rocket and ride it to the moon. Eddie Howe, be part of it. The worry would be that it's clear that the pressure is starting to build on Eddie a little bit as to where the PIF want to take this football club. And if he feels like he's not going to be supported, it's kind of like, we want you to achieve all of this, but we're not actually going to give you as much money to spend this summer, or maybe not support, or let him get on with it. We've actually sent Paul Mitchell in. He's going to do it all. And Eddie Howe might be like, well, if I now, he wants the reassurances that I guess even if Eddie Howe fails, that it was his doing and not because he had to hand over loads of control to somebody else. So there's loads of little facets of what's kind of going, is that even a word, of what's actually going on here. And I think that the big one is that we need to give Eddie Howe those assurances, or he might look at that England job differently. And that's what I said about earlier. He's just left that tiny gap there that if he did go, actually I might go to England, it's because I wasn't given the backing that I wanted. For me, I hope they just bring in Graham Potter tomorrow, to be honest. Not that I want Graham Potter particularly to be the England manager. I think England should go a totally different route. I think give Klopp a ring, see if he fancies it. And I know I appreciate it's like an international England manager normally fits better, but I would like to see us, after 8 years of Southgate, let's just go totally wild and just bring Keegan back for 2 years, just do something different. And I don't want it to be Eddie Howe. So it'll be interesting to see how we do back the transfer window. Eddie Howe said that he was, what was the words he used? He sounded pretty upset actually at the fact that Anderson left. He said that it didn't sit well with him. He spoke about the fact that Yankuba Minter left. So again, he's talking about kind of Amanda leaving, Mitchell coming in. It's also the fact that he's had a few players kind of ripped out of his hands, and then he's kind of been given Ruddy and the new Greek goalie that everyone's scared to pronounce the name of. Even Eddie Howe didn't want to pronounce it in the interview. Things have changed in that as well. I mean, what's great is what you've seen from the players. They're out there, they're playing paddle, they're on the bikes, they're having swimming races. So all of that looks very good, and I think that's very much Eddie Howe, as he will continue to be professional and continue to work with the players. But I think, and he did speak highly of Paul Mitchell as well in the interview. He said he's someone who obviously has a lot of experience and he's excited to work alongside, and for the joint goal of them both to go and get things done. And as I mentioned already, kind of evolving together to get this summer window rocking and rolling. And that leaves the question of kind of what next. Well, I think the immediate future is Eddie Howe hopefully does turn down any England calls and that they go somewhere else. The hope for me is that this interview may well be enough to put England off full stop. I appreciate that Eddie Howe is still on the kind of talks of the fact that he wants things to be perfect at Newcastle, and I'm hoping that he will get that. He spoke highly of the likes of Sandro Tonali being available very soon, which is a huge plus for him and what he hopes to achieve with Newcastle. But it's no denying that, as I've mentioned, I think believe it or not, Eddie Howe used the word assurances in his interview more than I've used it in this video. He said it about 1 billion times. So I think Newcastle need to reach out to Eddie and show their support. And I think the best way they can do that is by seeing us go and get some players this window. It's no doubt that we've spoken about Eddie Howe, and prior to kind of Dan Ashworth, we all spoke about Eddie Howe's transfer list, Eddie Howe's list. He gets his list, he's got his players. I've no doubt Paul Mitchell will have a list as well. Let's hope that they can go and deliver on that and bring him the players that he wants. And I'm dying for Eddie Howe to succeed. I think, and it's a hard one as well, because Eddie Howe has such great belief from the fans and such great support from the fans. So even talking in a way that is not negative, but I guess out of the immediate trend of like Eddie's the man. Like, I really hope Eddie is the man and that Eddie does get what he wants done this summer and can start to achieve very quickly. I think his comfort blanket of Amanda is gone now, and I don't think Big Yass will see it the same if we don't kick on in the season quickly. But that's exactly why we need to go and back him. People have said, has the transfer window started slowly? I think what Newcastle have done so far has been very good. We've been clever with what we've achieved so far. As Darren Neal said, we've complied with PSR. We've done PSR what we needed to do. The next step is the fun bit. The next step is to, like, right now, let's go out there, let's spend a bit of money. Let's bring that right winger in. Let's bring the young striker in. Let's get the new right-sided centre-back done. And we can really start to build a bit of hype and build a little bit of excitement around this. I think the best thing that could happen to us is England just go and hire somebody else, and that conversation's ripped away from Eddie Howe. So even if he's not given reassurances, he couldn't go for it anyway. You know, it's like, or maybe it could actually play into a huge benefit for us, because if Newcastle owners had planned of slowly unrolling something, maybe this is the kick up the backside they need as well to go out and give Eddie Howe what he needs to achieve this season. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments on Eddie Howe and his need for reassurance. Do you think there's a chance he could receive an offer from England, or is that enough actually now that he's said that he wants to stay and England will back off? It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but I think more importantly, Eddie Howe spoke very highly of his commitment to the club, and it seems that he really has no plans of going anywhere. I think he's possibly just, used this moment as a chance to say, I am here. It's his club. He's the one who's helped build this over the last 2 years. He's the one who saved us from relegation. He's possibly feeling slightly not threatened of his position, but the idea that the back room keeps building. Eddie Howe, who was presumably at one point, him, Murdad and Amanda sat round the table working it out for themselves. He's now got to put his decisions through about 7 other people, and Darren Neal's, Mitchell and James Bunce, who's been specifically brought in to watch over the team to make sure that things are going well. Like, Eddie Howe probably feels a little bit like he's got some eyes on him over his shoulder that he didn't used to have. So you can appreciate that he wants to kind of put his stake in the ground and go, by the way, I'm actually wanted by others, give me what I want. So you could big him up in that way as well. So let me know your thoughts on that down below. Thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy what's left of the sun tonight. Fingers crossed there's a bit more this weekend. And I'll catch you later.